All right, good morning, council. Can everyone see and hear me okay? Ms. Wilkerson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lopez? Mr. Lopez, I believe you may be muted still.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, good, excellent. All right. All right, record will reflect that this is cause number 19-167, Milam versus A&B and Franklin S. Gandy, deceased, Jane Sheilds, as heir of the estate of Franklin S. Gandy. See that we have two things before us today, as we discussed previously. We have Mr. Elliott's motion to withdraw as counsel, and we also have Mr. Lopez's motion to compel deposition. And I guess we'll take up, well, let me ask you, Mr. Lopez, how would you like to take them up? Which order would you like to take?
Your Honor, at this juncture, I don't have an objection to the motion to withdraw. I don't have an issue with that being granted, obviously. I still need the deposition of Ms. Jane Sheilds. Obviously, I would have to proceed without her being represented with counsel. However, at least to date, the deposition has been requested. No dates have been offered. My understanding is that has been communicated by Mr. Elliott to his client, and whether or not she wants to participate in that, that's up to her. What I would like is an order on the deposition, compelling the deposition. So really, it doesn't really matter what order it's taken up, but I do want to address that relief.
Okay, I noticed in your motion, maybe it's in your order too, you were asking for her to be produced. You were asking for an order from the court to produce her today. Is that correct?
Right, and that was going off of the previous hearing setting that we had last week. I submitted a new proposed order last night or yesterday afternoon with the date that is blank. I have a location on standby to take the deposition in the next 2 weeks, of course, assuming Ms. Wilkerson is also available, or at least counsel for the National Bank is also available. So the original relief was for today, because I know that me and Ms. Wilkerson would have been available at least to some extent today. But now that obviously that time is gone, I would like to proceed with some other date sometime in the future.
Okay, and are you going to have a date for the court to put in the order?
Yes, Your Honor. I think if Your Honor would be willing to order that, then what I would do is confer with Ms. Wilkerson here today and confer on a couple of different dates that I have in the next 2 weeks, where I have a place on standby there in Canton for Ms. Shields to present herself, and advise the court of that date so that Your Honor can sign the order with that specific date that's agreeable by all parties.
Okay. And hang on, we have a little feedback here. Mr. Elliott, with Mr. Lopez not having an objection to your motion to withdraw, if the court grants that today, then do you have any other interest in this hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then based on the statement of counsel, Mr. Lopez having no objection to Mr. Elliott's first amended motion to withdraw as counsel, well, let me ask, Ms. Wilkerson, do you have any objection to Mr. Elliott's withdrawing as counsel for Ms. Shields?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. With there being no objection from any party, then the court will grant the first amended motion to withdraw as counsel. And the court will sign that order this day. And Mr. Elliott, you are free to go.
Thank you, Judge. Excused?
Yes, sir. All right. And do you two want to take a moment off the record and figure out a date, and then the court will grant that motion to compel the deposition? If you'll just give me a date, or you can just submit that to me, Mr. Lopez, later. If you and Ms. Wilkerson want to work on that date and submit it to me, then the court will just sign that. The court will grant the motion to compel the deposition of Ms. Jane Sheilds as heir for Franklin S. Gandy. Okay.
Well, I can do either way. Nicholette, I have 3 or 5 days.
We'll go off the record, Ms. Christian. Go ahead.
Currently, I have 6 dates that I'm available, and I have a location in Canton that's available, that's open to take the deposition. That's September 28th, September 30th, October 2nd, October 5th, the 6th, and the 8th.
Okay. It may be easier if you send me an email with that.
Yeah,
before we do that, can this isn't me asking for any relief or anything, but I just want to make the court aware. There's been some conversations with counsel that Ms. Shields may not be competent to give a deposition.
Well, let's do this. We're not on the record right now, so let me get us back on the record. Ms. Grisham, are we ready? Go ahead, Ms. Wilkerson, if you'll just restate what you previously said.
Yes, Your Honor. It's been brought up in conversations with counsel previously, just some worries, I guess, concerns that Ms. Sheilds may not be competent to sit for her deposition. And I was just I'm not asking for relief necessarily, just asking for some guidance from the court in the event that we show up on the date that we decide to take Ms. Sheilds' deposition, and in the event that she shows up too, and she isn't competent, what would the court have us do?
I guess bring that issue back before the court, and we would have to discuss the level of incompetency or suggestion of incompetency for us to know where to go from there. I would need some facts on the record about that.
Right. I think at that juncture, Your Honor, I think her testimony or the admissibility of her testimony would be argued if it is an argument that she is incompetent. Whether her testimony at the time of her deposition is admissible is an issue that the judge, Your Honor, would decide at that juncture at a later point, I would say.
Right. So I'll let you all get into that deposition, and then if that is a concern, then if there is a suggestion of incompetency, or even if you can't, then we could possibly have her tested if we needed to. I know that's one thing that we can do. That would be borne by the parties, obviously, borne by the plaintiff. If we were to have her tested for her competency, so that the court would know whether or not she has that rational ability. But those would be issues that would have to be brought up to me at that time. So if that does occur, then you'll stop the deposition and bring that to the court, and we'll make that determination at that time.
Will do.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, on one other non-related matter right now, as far as that's not in front of the court right now. Just yesterday, we received a notice of submission for the motion for summary judgment that was filed by American National Bank. That your court has issued a submission schedule, or at least a briefing submission schedule. Based on that, I'm prepared to actually have to file a motion for continuance on that submission schedule because of the way certain things have played out so far to date. I have a deposition right now scheduled of one of the officers for American National Bank next week. My expert designation, whose report would be actually necessary as part of the evidence, much for summary judgment, isn't due for another 2 weeks from today also. So a little bit more than 2 weeks. Would Your Honor, at least, would you need me to prepare a formal motion for continuance with respect to that submission schedule, or is it something that can be done via letter brief? Or is it simply something that we can request if there's no opposition from counsel for American National Bank?
Yeah, let me hear from Ms. Wilkerson on that. Ms. Wilkerson, it sounds like what Mr. Lopez is requesting is a continuance on the submission date. American National Bank?
This was just brought up to us right before this hearing happened. It's likely that we're going to oppose it, and we'd prefer to have it in motion form so that we can oppose it. But you let us know how you want us to handle it.
Okay, so you're not in agreement at this time.
Right.
Okay. Then Mr. Lopez, then yeah, you'll file your motion for continuance, and the court can rule on that without a hearing.
Well, I appreciate that. The only thing that also obviously caused me to have some concern is really, I'll get that motion filed in the next day. But I would appreciate either a hearing setting or a ruling before the date of my responses to.
Sure, absolutely.
That's my concern right now. But I appreciate it. And I called Ms. Nicholette this morning to advise her that I was going to be bringing this up. We just got the notice of submission yesterday, so that's why it's kind of an issue being brought all of a sudden right now. So I appreciate the court's guidance on it, and we will get that taken care of. Has the court coordinator already issued the date for the MSJ by submission? Yes. What date did she? October 23rd is the day that I guess it gets submitted to you, Your Honor. On that order notice, it requires my response to be due October 7th.
And Ms. Wilkerson, you have filed the MSJ, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Yes, okay, so Mr. Lopez, yes, if you'll file your motion, then the court will rule on that within 24 hours of receiving that. I'll do that expediently without a hearing.
All right. I appreciate it, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anything
Will we
else?
have the
Go ahead, Ms.
Sorry,
Wilkerson.
will we have the opportunity to respond after the motion is filed?
Let's see. I'll just tell you right now, Ms. Wilkerson, I'm leaning towards granting a short continuance on the motion for summary judgment just because we have had a delay in dealing with Mr. Elliott's motion to withdraw and dealing with Sheilds. And so I am somewhat sympathetic to Mr. Lopez's request at this time regarding he's been fighting kind of a two-front war here, and we just got past this one. So I'm gonna talk with I'll tell you what, let me just talk with my coordinator, and I'm gonna go ahead and grant the continuance. I understand you wanted that motion form and have a chance to argue it, but the court's gonna go ahead and grant that. But I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna reset it for very long. So let me do this. Let me just take a brief recess, talk with my coordinator. Let me find some new dates. And I'm only thinking, Mr. Lopez, is there a certain amount of time that you think is better than others?
Your Honor, I'll tell you right now, I think I don't anticipate needing more than maybe just a 30-day continuance because of, okay, I have this deposition scheduled for next week of Mr. Whiteside, an officer of American National Bank. I anticipate 2 weeks to get that transcript. That's usually the turnaround time. My expert designation reports are due, I believe, on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, of October. And assuming I can get the deposition of Ms. Sheilds in the next 2 weeks as well, then I think we'll be good to be able to provide a response at least beginning of November with your submission date. I'm assuming sometime in mid-November to be submitted to your court. It's just me kind of spitballing here, looking at the calendar and looking at what I can get scheduled in the next 2 weeks.
And do you anticipate, I'm sure you probably hope, but do you anticipate that any of the testimony you get from either Ms. Sheilds or the officer from American National Bank is going to be MSJ evidence?
I do, Your Honor. The issues on the motion for summary judgment are obviously on our causes of action of duty, causation, duty breach causation on the negligence claim, premises liability, obviously as well, the elements related to that. Ms. Sheilds being a fact witness, I believe we'll be able to testify a little bit about what was going on the day of from a different perspective than the employees that testified so far in the case. Mr. Whiteside is responsible for security of the bank, so his knowledge is imperative with respect to what is known as far as activities, criminal activities, violent activities, whatsoever with respect to that bank. That's evidence we've been trying to get, obviously, and it's not through any delay of American National Bank necessarily. And I'll tell you another issue that I can't move forward with either right now is actually I was looking for another manager, assistant manager that formerly was employed there at the American National Bank. I've been looking for him for the past 3 or 4 months, and it turns out there's a missing report for him because he's actually missing entirely. So, you know, we've had those, but at least with respect to those 2 witnesses, yes. And then obviously on the causation, being able to tie those negligent acts to the incident, I believe my expert will be able to touch on that. And that's why I think the report is necessary as well.
Okay. All right. So let's just, I'm going to stand in recess and for just a moment. I'll be right back with you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right, council, we are back on the record, cause number 19167. All right, so the court is going to adjust the motion for summary judgment submission date to November 23rd. Mr. Lopez, that'll make your response due by November 13th. And Ms. Wilkerson, that'll give you the ability to reply by November 20th. And that should avoid the holidays. Is that workable for you, Mr. Lopez?
I believe so, Your Honor. I appreciate the consideration. Thank you very much.
Ms. Wilkerson, workable for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then I'll go ahead and adjust that and won't be sending any notices on that since you're getting that notice in open court, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so I guess if I do not hear from you on any issues regarding Ms. Sheilds or anything else, then I'll just be looking for your response and your replies on the MS.
Okay, and I do anticipate submitting that order on the motion to compel the deposition after conferring on dates with Ms. Wilkerson.
Okay, yeah, as soon as that's in, I'll get that signed and circulated back to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Your Honor.
You have a good day.